The last sketch. The Chicago winter bit through Zara Patel's thin jacket as she huddled on the park bench, her fingers nearly numb as she continued sketching. 6 days. That's how long she had been homeless. 6 days since Meridian Architecture had declared bankruptcy, taking with it not only her job but also her apartment, which had been company housing. At 32, Zara had been the firm's rising star, known for sustainable urban designs that blended functionality with beauty. Now those achievements were just lines on a resume that no one would read. Her bank account held exactly $27.16. Not enough for a hotel room, barely enough for food. Just one more night, she whispered to herself, watching her breath form small clouds in the frigid air. Something will work out tomorrow. The park had become her reluctant sanctuary. During the day, she applied for jobs from the public libraries, computers using their bathrooms to wash up as best she could. At night, she returned to this bench, partly hidden by evergreen shrubs where she could sleep without being immediately spotted by police or potential threats. Zara's portfolio case contained everything she had left: her degree certificates, her designs, a change of clothes, and a small photo of her parents. Both gone now, her father to cancer 3 years ago, her mother to a stroke the previous summer. They had been academics who had passed on their love of creation but little in the way of financial security. As the temperature dropped further, Zara opened her sketchbook to a new page. Drawing helped her forget the cold and hunger. Kein sketch was of a community center, one that incorporated temporary housing units for those experiencing homelessness. The irony wasn't lost on her. A well-dressed couple walked past, their laughter carrying in the quiet park. Zara hunched deeper into herself, feeling invisible. Chicago's financial district loomed around her, its gleaming towers housing thousands of successful people who would never know what it felt like to have nowhere to go. Just as she finished the basic outline of her design, the pencil slipped from her stiffened fingers, rolling under the bench. Zara bent down to retrieve it, and when she straightened, she found herself face to face with a man. He wasn't particularly tall, but something about his presence made him seem imposing. His charcoal overcoat looked expensive, as did the leather briefcase he carried. Dark hair flecked with gray framed a face with thoughtful eyes and a carefully trimmed beard. He was perhaps in his early 40s, with the confident stance of someone accustomed to authority. "The park closes at 11, he said, his voice deep but not unkind. "It's not safe to be out here." Zara quickly closed her sketchbook. "I'm just finishing up," she replied, mustering what dignity she could. Instead of moving on, the man glanced at her portfolio case and then at her face. "You're an architect," he said. It wasn't a question. "How did you—" "Your case. It's from Atelier Design. They only make those for architectural firms." He hesitated. "And you're sketching structural elevations." A gust of wind blew across the park, making Zara shiver involuntarily. Without comment, the stranger removed his coat and extended it toward her. "I don't need charity," Zara said, even as her body betrayed her with another violent shiver. "It's not charity. It's common sense. Take it before you develop hypothermia." Reluctantly, Zara accepted the coat, wrapping it around her shoulders. The residual warmth from his body and the weight of the wool provided immediate relief. "Thank you," she said softly. "I'll find a way to return it." "Keep it," he replied, checking his watch. "I have others." Before she could respond, he turned and began walking away. After a few steps, he paused and looked back. "There's a 24-hour diner 3 blocks south. The owner, Greta, is an old friend. Tell her Nathaniel sent you. She'll let you stay until morning." "Why are you helping me?" Zara called after him. The man, Nathaniel, considered her question. "Because talent shouldn't sleep on park benches," he finally answered. Then he was gone, swallowed by the shadows between street lamps. Zara sat motionless, the unexpected kindness washing over her like a warm wave. After a moment, she packed up her belongings and stood, her decision made. She would find this diner, speak to this Greta. Perhaps this small act of compassion was the turn of fortune she had been waiting for. As she walked in the direction Nathaniel had indicated, Zara slipped her hand into the coat pocket and found A business card. In the glow of a streetlight, she read, Nathaniel Harrington, CEO, Pinnacle Innovations. For the first time in 6 days, Zara felt something like hope. The unexpected guardian. The morning light filtered through the windows of Greta's diner, casting a warm glow across the worn but clean table where Zara sat nursing her third cup of coffee. True to Nathaniel's word, Greta, a robust woman in her 60s with silver-streaked hair and kind eyes, had welcomed Zara without question. Any friend of Nate's is welcome here, she'd said, serving Zara a hearty meal despite her protests that she couldn't afford it. That man saved my business during the recession. I don't ask questions when he sends someone my way. Zara had spent the night in a small back room usually reserved for staff breaks, sleeping better than she had in days. Now, showered in the employee bathroom and with a full stomach, she felt almost human again as she studied the business card she'd found in Nathaniel's coat. Pinnacle Innovations was a major player in Chicago's tech industry. She'd read about them in business journals, a company known for developing smart building technologies. The irony wasn't lost on her. An architect without a home holding the card of someone who made buildings intelligent. You should call him, Greta said, refilling Zara's cup. Nate doesn't help people on a whim. Zara hesitated. I just need to return his coat. It's probably worth more than everything I own. Greta raised an eyebrow. In the 20 years I've known that man, I've never seen him give away his coat. And trust me, honey, he's met plenty of people in worse situations than yours. Before Zara could respond, the bell above the diner door jingled. A tall woman in an impeccable pantsuit entered, scanning the room until her eyes landed on Zara. With purposeful strides, she approached the table. Ms. Patel? She inquired, her voice crisp and professional. Zara nodded, suddenly conscious of her wrinkled clothes. I'm Vivian Lawrence, Mr. Harrington's executive assistant. He asked me to check if you found your way here safely. She placed a sleek folder on the table. And to deliver this. Confused, Zara opened the folder to find a contract for temporary housing in one of Pinnacle's corporate apartments, along with a note. For the return of my coat. 3 months, no strings attached. If interested, Vivian will take you there. NH. This is too much, Zara said, looking up at Vivian. I can't accept this. Mr. Harrington anticipated your response. Vivian's professional demeanor softened slightly. He said to tell you that Pinnacle is currently redesigning their corporate headquarters to be more sustainable. They're interviewing architects next week. He thought you might want a proper address to put on your application. Greta chuckled from behind the counter. That sounds like Nate. 2 hours later, Zara stood in the center of a modest but elegantly furnished apartment on the 17th floor of a building owned by Pinnacle Innovations. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a stunning view of the same city that had seemed so coldly indifferent to her plight just yesterday. The refrigerator is stocked with basics, Vivian explained, handing Zara a set of keys and a company ID badge. The badge gives you access to the building and the ground floor co-working space if you need it for your application. Mr. Harrington was quite impressed by the sketches he glimpsed last night. This is overwhelming, Zara admitted, still unable to fully comprehend the sudden change in her circumstances. Mr. Harrington has a talent for recognizing potential. Vivian checked her watch. I should go. My number is on the counter if you need anything. After Vivian left, Zara explored the apartment, finding not only food but also a laptop with a note indicating it was loaded with architectural software. In the bedroom closet hung several outfits in exactly her size, with another note, professional. Attire, consider it a loan. Zara sank onto the edge of the bed, emotions overwhelming her. Was this charity? An investment? A trap? She'd heard stories about wealthy men helping women in vulnerable positions, but something about Nathaniel Harrington didn't fit that narrative. She took out her sketchbook and began working on a new design, one incorporating the smart building technologies that Pinnacle was known for. If she was going to interview for this opportunity, she would earn it on merit, not gratitude. 3 days later, after submitting her application and portfolio online, Zara received an email inviting her for an interview. The timing was suspicious. Most other applicants would have waited weeks, but she was determined to prove herself worthy of the chance. On the morning of her interview, Zara stood before the mirror in a borrowed charcoal suit, her dark hair swept into a professional updo. For the first time in weeks, she recognized the confident woman staring back at her. The Pinnacle headquarters occupied the top 10 floors of a sleek skyscraper downtown. As Zara stepped into the lobby, her architectural eye appreciated the seamless blend of functionality and beauty, a space that breathed innovation. "Ms. Patel," a familiar voice called. Vivian appeared at her side, tablet in hand. "Follow me, please. The committee is ready for you." Instead of leading her to a conference room, Vivian escorted Zara to what appeared to be a model apartment within the building. 5 people waited inside, including Nathaniel Harrington. He wore no coat today, just a navy suit that complemented his thoughtful eyes. He gave no indication they had met before. "Ms. Patel," he said formally, extending his hand. "Welcome to Pinnacle. We've been looking forward to meeting the architect behind the innovative sustainable community center design in your portfolio." Zara felt a flicker of confusion until she realized the sketch she'd been working on that night in the park. He must have seen more than she thought. "Thank you for the opportunity," she replied, matching his professional tone. As their hands met, a silent understanding passed between them. Here, she would be judged solely on her merits, not her circumstances. "Shall we begin?" Nathaniel gestured to her portfolio. "Show us your vision for the future of Pinnacle." Taking a deep breath, Zara opened her case and prepared to prove that his unexpected guardianship hadn't been misplaced. Blueprints of trust. The living wall isn't just aesthetic. It functions as natural air purification and thermal regulation, Zara explained, gesturing to the 3-dimensional holographic model rotating above the conference table. 2 weeks had passed since her interview, and she now stood before Pinnacle's executive committee, presenting her finalized concept for their new headquarters. The room fell silent as she concluded her presentation, 7 pairs of eyes studying her design with various expressions of intrigue and assessment. At the head of the table, Nathaniel Harrington leaned forward, his fingers steepled beneath his chin. "You're proposing we incorporate a rainwater collection system that powers the entire building's gray water usage," he said, his tone neutral, but his eyes sharp. "Has this been successfully implemented at this scale before?" "Not in this exact configuration," Zara admitted. "But I've run the simulations using Pinnacle's own environmental modeling software. The numbers work, Mr. Harrington." Slight smile touched Nathaniel's lips. "Indeed they do, Ms. Patel. The question is whether the board will approve such an unconventional approach." "If I may," interrupted Dominic Wells, the silver-haired CFO. "The initial investment exceeds our projected budget by almost 30%. Zara nodded, having anticipated this objection. "Yes, but the operational savings offset that investment within 7 years, after which Pinnacle will save approximately $2.3 million annually in energy and water costs, not to mention the carbon credit incentives. And the PR value is incalculable," added Vivian, who had become something of an ally to Zara. Being the first corporate headquarters to achieve true carbon neutrality would position Pinnacle as the definitive leader in sustainable technology. Nathaniel studied the model for another long moment before standing. "Thank you, Ms. Patel. The committee will deliberate and inform you of our decision." As the executives filed out, Zara began gathering her materials, trying to quell the disappointment rising in her chest. Her design was bold, perhaps too bold for a company that, despite its innovative reputation, still answered to shareholders. "Don't pack up just yet," Nathaniel said quietly, having lingered behind the others. "Walk with me." Surprised, Zara followed him through the glass doors and into a private elevator that opened with his keycard. They rode in silence to the rooftop garden, a space currently used mostly for corporate events. "This is where your living wall would start," he said, gesturing to the southern exposure, "extending down 17 floors. "Yes," Zara confirmed. "The vertical garden would integrate with the solar panel array, creating a symbiotic relationship between energy production and thermal regulation. Nathaniel paced the perimeter of the roof, hands clasped behind his back. When I found you in the park that night, I saw someone with nothing but a sketchbook and determination. Now I see that same determination, but backed by exceptional talent. He turned to face her. The committee will approve your design, Ms. Patel. Zara blinked in surprise. But Mr. Wells, Dominic always objects to initial costs. It's practically his job description. Nathaniel's expression softened. I've already secured their votes. This will be your project, Zara. From concept to completion. The use of her first name didn't escape her notice. Thank you for your confidence, Mr. Harrington. Nathaniel, please. If we're going to revolutionize corporate architecture together, we should be on a first-name basis. Nathaniel, she repeated, testing the familiarity. Why me? There are dozens of established architectural firms that would love this contract. His gaze was direct, unflinching. Because they would give me what's already been done. You show me what's possible. He gestured toward the city skyline. You see beyond limitations, it's a rare quality. Something warm unfurled in Zara's chest at his words. A feeling of being truly seen for the first time in longer than she could remember. Over the following weeks, Zara became a fixture at Pinnacle's offices. Her temporary housing arrangement extended indefinitely as she took on the role of lead architect for the headquarters redesign. She assembled a team of talented engineers and designers, many of whom were initially skeptical of both her youth and her ambitious plans. The structural support for the living wall needs to integrate with the existing framework. Javier, the senior structural engineer, argued during one particularly tense meeting. What you're proposing would require reinforcing the entire eastern facade. Then we reinforce it, Zara replied calmly, not backing down. Unless you're telling me it can't be done. It can be done, Javier conceded reluctantly. But the cost has been approved, came Nathaniel's voice from the doorway. He hadn't been scheduled to attend this meeting, but he had developed a habit of appearing when debates reach their peak. Ms. Patel has my full confidence. If she says reinforce the facade, then we reinforce the facade. His unwavering support gradually won over even the most doubtful team members. As winter gave way to spring, construction began on what the press was already calling Chicago's Green Giant, a transformation that would set new standards for urban sustainability. One evening, as sunset painted the sky in dramatic strokes of orange and pink, Zara found herself alone in the project office, fine-tuning details for the next day's construction milestone. A knock at the door revealed Nathaniel, jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up, looking more casual than she'd ever seen him. You're working late, he observed, crossing to the scale model dominating the center of the room. Says the man who's still here at 8 p.m., Zara countered with a small smile. Occupational hazard of being the boss. He studied the model. Is that a modification to the southwestern corner? Yes. I realized we could incorporate additional solar collection if we adjusted the angle slightly. She moved to stand beside him, pointing out the change. It's a small tweak, but it increases efficiency by nearly 4%. Always improving, Nathaniel murmured, his voice carrying a note of something like admiration. You never settle, do you? Neither do you, she replied. Their eyes met over the model, and Zara became acutely aware of how close they were standing. Nathaniel cleared his throat and stepped back slightly. I actually came to invite you to dinner. To discuss the project, of course. Of course, Zara echoed, feeling a curious blend of disappointment and relief at the professional context. Let me just save these changes. As they left the building together, walking toward a nearby restaurant Nathaniel had suggested, Zara realized how dramatically her life had transformed in just a few months. From homelessness to heading a groundbreaking architectural project, all because one man had noticed her sketching in the cold. Penny, for your thoughts? Nathaniel asked as they waited at a crosswalk. I was just thinking about how different everything is now, Zara admitted. That night in the park seems like someone else's life. Nathaniel's expression grew serious. You never told me how you ended up there. Zara hesitated, then decided he deserved her honesty. As they settled at their table and ordered, she shared the story of Meridian's collapse, the company housing she'd lost, and the rapid depletion of her savings. The worst part wasn't the cold or the hunger, she confessed, staring into her glass of wine. It was feeling invisible. People would walk right past, looking through me as if I didn't exist. I saw you, Nathaniel said quietly. I saw you creating beauty even when surrounded by hardship. That's rare, Zara. That's extraordinary. The sincerity in his voice made her look up, meeting his gaze. For a breathless moment, the restaurant around them seemed to fade away, leaving only this connection, fragile yet undeniable. Before either could speak again, Nathaniel's phone buzzed. His expression darkened as he checked the message. What is it? Zara asked, concern replacing the warmth of the previous moment. Trevor Blackwood, Nathaniel replied grimly. CEO of Vanguard Development. He's requesting a meeting with our board tomorrow. Apparently he has concerns about our reckless new headquarters design. Vanguard, aren't they? Our largest competitor, yes. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. And they've been trying to acquire Pinnacle for years. The evening's intimate atmosphere evaporated, replaced by a palpable tension. As Nathaniel made several quick calls, Zara couldn't help but wonder if their burgeoning connection, whatever it might be, would survive the corporate storm gathering on the horizon. Foundations tested. This is nothing short of corporate sabotage. Nathaniel's voice, though controlled, carried an edge of steel as he addressed Pinnacle's assembled board members. The morning sunlight streamed through the conference room windows, illuminating the tension etched on every face. Across the polished table sat Trevor Blackwood, CEO of Vanguard Development, a man whose silver fox appearance and tailored Italian suit belied the predatory gleam in his eyes. Beside him, two Vanguard executives and their legal counsel maintained expressions of practiced concern. Sabotage is a strong accusation, Nathaniel, Trevor replied smoothly. We're simply raising legitimate safety and compliance concerns about your innovative redesign. The way he emphasized innovative made it sound like a flaw rather than a virtue. Zara sat slightly apart from the table, having been invited not as a participant but as a reference for technical questions. She watched the corporate chess match with growing unease. Our concerns are straightforward, Trevor continued, sliding a folder across the table. Our engineers have reviewed the publicly available plans for your renovation. The living wall system could potentially compromise structural integrity, particularly in Chicago's wind conditions. We would be remiss not to bring this to your attention, and to the attention of the City Planning Commission. Dominic Wells, Pinnacle's CFO, paled visibly. You've contacted the commission without speaking to us first? As responsible members of Chicago's business community, we have certain ethical obligations, Trevor said with a thin smile that didn't reach his eyes. Nathaniel remained outwardly calm, though Zara noticed the slight tightening of his hands. Your sudden interest in ethics is touching, Trevor, especially considering Vanguard's history of environmental violations. Ancient history, Trevor waved dismissively. But your current design poses present risks. Of course, we at Vanguard would be happy to offer our expertise, or even consider a joint venture that would absolve Pinnacle of liability while maintaining the project's spirit. The true purpose of the meeting crystallized in that moment. This wasn't about safety. It was about leveraging regulatory concerns to force Pinnacle into a disadvantageous partnership, or worse, a complete takeover. I believe Ms. Patel can address these technical concerns, Nathaniel said, turning to Zara with a slight nod. She is, after all, the architect of record. All eyes turned to Zara. The weight of not just her own future, but that of Pinnacle and Nathaniel's trust pressed upon her shoulders as she rose from her chair. Mr. Blackwood, she began, her voice steadier than she felt. I'd be interested to know which wind load calculation model your engineers used in their analysis. Trevor blinked, clearly not expecting such a direct technical challenge. I'd have To consult with my team for the specifics. That's unfortunate, Zara continued, moving to the digital display and pulling up her design schematics with a few deft touches. Because we used 3 separate models, including the Davenport spectrum method, which is specifically calibrated for Chicago's unique wind patterns. Our living wall system actually reduces wind shear by 23% compared to a traditional glass facade. For Keo, the next 20 minutes, Zara methodically dismantled every technical objection in Vanguard's report, displaying a command of engineering principles that left even Nathaniel looking impressed. She concluded by pulling up the environmental impact assessment that had already received preliminary approval from the very planning commission Trevor had attempted to alarm. In summary, Mr. Blackwood, Zara finished, your concerns appear to be based on outdated modeling and incomplete information. I'd be happy to provide your engineering team with our complete technical specifications, unless, of course, this was never actually about safety. The boardroom fell silent. Trevor's practiced smile had vanished, replaced by a barely concealed scowl. Well, Nathaniel said into the silence, I believe that addresses Vanguard's concerns. Unless there's something else, Trevor? The Vanguard CEO rose slowly. This isn't over, Nathaniel. The market has ways of correcting overreach. With a curt nod to his team, they gathered their materials and departed, leaving a wake of tension behind them. Once the door closed, the Pinnacle board erupted in worried discussion until Nathaniel raised a hand for silence. Trevor won't stop here, he said grimly. Vivian, contact our PR team. We need to get ahead of any rumors about safety concerns. Dominic, reach out to our major investors and reassure them. Everyone else back to business as usual. We can't afford to appear rattled. As the meeting dispersed, Nathaniel caught Zara's eye and motioned for her to remain. When they were alone, he exhaled heavily, some of his careful composure slipping. That was masterful, he said quietly. You saved us from a serious setback. For now, Zara replied, unable to shake her unease. But Blackwood seemed determined. Nathaniel nodded, moving to stare out at the city skyline. Vanguard has been after Pinnacle for years. Our sustainable technology threatens their entire business model of cheap, efficient, environmentally devastating development. Zara joined him at the window. What will they do next? Try to spook our investors, spread rumors in the industry, possibly even target key personnel. He turned to her, his expression grave. Including you. Me? Zara frowned. I'm just the architect. You're the visionary behind our most ambitious project, Nathaniel corrected. And after today's performance, Trevor knows you're a formidable asset. He hesitated. Perhaps we should consider enhanced security for you, at least temporarily. I don't need a bodyguard, Zara protested. This is corporate rivalry, not a spy thriller. Vanguard plays dirty, Nathaniel insisted. Just be cautious. Their conversation was interrupted by Vivian bursting in, tablet in hand, her normally composed demeanor visibly shaken. Sir, we have a problem, she said. Someone's leaked personal information about Ms. Patel to Builders Today, that industry gossip blog. They're running a piece suggesting Pinnacle hired a homeless architect as a publicity stunt. Zara felt the blood drain from her face. What? Vivian handed her the tablet, where the headline blared, From Park Bench to Pinnacle, the homeless architect behind Chicago's most controversial project. The article detailed her time at Meridian, the company's collapse, and even included a grainy photo of her sleeping on the park bench, clearly taken without her knowledge. It strongly implied that Nathaniel had hired her as either a charitable gesture or a calculated PR move, not for her talent. This is Blackwood, Nathaniel growled, scanning the piece. He's trying to undermine your credibility and paint our project as some sort of social experiment rather than serious architecture. Zara sat heavily in a nearby chair, the tablet slipping from her fingers. All the professional respect she'd worked so hard to build, all the confidence she'd regained, suddenly threatened by this invasive exposure of her lowest moment. The board will see this, she said numbly. The construction team, the engineers, everyone will know. Zara. Nathaniel knelt beside her chair, his voice gentle but firm. Look at me. When she raised her eyes to his, he continued. Your circumstances never defined your talent. Everyone who has worked with you knows that. This changes nothing. It changes everything, she whispered. How can I lead the project when everyone will be whispering behind my back? When they'll wonder if I got this position because of talent or pity? Nathaniel's expression hardened. Then we fight back. We show them exactly why you're leading this project. He stood, pulling out his phone. Vivian, arrange a press conference for tomorrow morning. We're going to give builders today a real story. What are you going to do? Zara asked. Not me, us. Nathaniel's eyes burned with determination. We're going to showcase our design to the public, the full vision, not just the corporate-approved highlights. Let people see what true innovation looks like. Let them judge your work on its merits. Despite his confidence, doubt clouded Zara's mind. And if that's not enough? For a moment, Nathaniel's professional mask slipped completely, revealing a vulnerability she'd never seen before. Then I'll step forward and tell them the truth, that finding you that night was the best thing that ever happened to Pinnacle. To me. The intensity of his gaze made Zara's heart stutter. This was no longer merely about business or architecture. The foundation of something deeper had been laid between them, something now being tested by forces intent on tearing it down before it could fully form. I should resign, she said quietly. It would be cleaner for everyone. Absolutely not, Nathaniel replied, his tone leaving no room for argument. Running now would only validate their tactics. Besides, he hesitated, then continued more softly. I didn't give you my coat that night just to let you walk away when things get difficult. The reminder of their first encounter hung in the air between them, charged with unspoken emotion. Before either could say more, Nathaniel's phone rang. His expression darkened as he answered. What? When? He listened intently, then cursed under his breath. Secure the site, no one in or out until I get there. What's happened? Zara asked as he ended the call. Someone broke into the construction site last night, Nathaniel explained grimly. Damaged some of the preliminary work on the eastern facade, right where the living wall foundation is being prepared. Sabotage, Zara breathed, connecting the dots. Nathaniel nodded. Blackwood isn't just trying to discredit you, he's trying to physically derail the project. He grabbed his jacket. I need to assess the damage. Will you come with me? Your technical expertise might help determine how serious this is. As they hurried out together, Zara felt a strange calm replacing her earlier shock. Vanguard had attacked not just her reputation, but the physical manifestation of her design, her creation. That crossed a line that transcended personal embarrassment. Inane. The elevator. Nathaniel glanced at her with concern. Are you all right? Zara squared her shoulders, a new resolve hardening within her. They targeted my past, my reputation, and now my work. But they've miscalculated, Nathaniel. How so? They think I'm fragile because I once had nothing. A determined smile curved her lips. They don't understand that having nothing once means I'm not afraid of losing everything again. It makes me dangerous. For the first time since the Vanguard meeting, Nathaniel's expression lightened. Then let's show them just how dangerous we can be. As the elevator doors opened and they stepped out together, Zara knew that whatever came next, whether triumph or disaster, they would face it not as CEO and architect, but as allies united by something neither had expected to find. A foundation of trust strong enough to withstand the storms ahead. Building together. The early morning sun cast long shadows across the construction site as Zara walked the perimeter, surveying the results of 3 weeks of relentless work. What had begun as an act of sabotage had transformed into an opportunity for innovation. The damaged eastern facade, rather than being merely repaired, had been reimagined. The structural reinforcements are actually stronger than in the original design, she explained to the small group of journalists following her tour. We've incorporated a honeycomb pattern that distributes weight more efficiently, while providing additional anchor points for the living wall. The press conference had evolved into something much bigger. What Nathaniel had initially planned as a defensive response to the Builders Today article had become Chicago's architectural event of the year, with major design publications and environmental groups in attendance. And the solar integration prompted a reporter from Architectural Digest recording every detail. Zara gestured to the gleaming panels already installed on the southern exposure. By adjusting the angle and using the new prismatic collectors Pinnacle developed, we've increased energy capture by nearly 20% over conventional systems. As she continued the tour, Zara caught glimpses of Nathaniel moving through the crowd, deep in conversation with investors and city officials. The past 3 weeks had been a whirlwind of crisis management, redesign sessions, and long nights spent salvaging their vision from Vanguard's attack. The sabotage had backfired, spectacularly. After Nathaniel had publicly denounced the unethical tactics of desperate competitors, without naming Vanguard directly, an anonymous whistleblower from within Blackwood's company had leaked emails implicating several Vanguard executives in both the construction site damage and the leak to Builders Today. The scandal had sent Vanguard's stock plummeting and put Pinnacle in the spotlight as a champion of sustainable innovation. Ironically, the article meant to humiliate Zara had instead made her something of an inspiration. The architect who had risen from homelessness to design Chicago's most forward-thinking building. "Ms. Patel," called a voice from the crowd as the tour concluded near the main entrance. "Can you address the rumors about your personal circumstances prior to joining Pinnacle? Is it true that you were experiencing homelessness when Mr. Harrington discovered your talent?" The question hung in the air, and Zara felt all eyes turn toward her. Nearby, Nathaniel stiffened, ready to intervene, but Zara gave him a subtle nod. This was her story to tell. "Yes," she answered simply. "After my previous firm collapsed, I found myself without resources. For a brief time, I had nowhere to go." She paused, surveying the assembled journalists. "I share this not for sympathy, but because it taught me something crucial about architecture. Buildings aren't just structures. They're shelter, they're safety, they're second chances." She gestured to the rising framework of the Pinnacle headquarters, behind her. "This design incorporates community spaces on the ground level that will be open to the public, including resources for those experiencing housing insecurity. Because true sustainability isn't just about the environment, it's about the people who inhabit it." A spontaneous round of applause broke out, led by Nathaniel himself, whose expression held something that looked remarkably like pride. As the event wound down and the journalists dispersed, Zara found herself momentarily alone, staring up at the structure taking shape, her vision becoming reality. "You turned a potential disaster into your defining moment," came Nathaniel's voice as he joined her. "I'm not sure if I should be impressed or intimidated." Zara smiled. Both would be appropriate. They stood in comfortable silence, watching workers secure a massive beam into place. The rhythmic sounds of construction, the symphony of creation surrounded them. "The board voted this morning," Nathaniel said finally. "They've approved the establishment of the Pinnacle Architectural Division, with you as director. It's yours, if you want it." Zara turned to him in surprise. "A whole division? That wasn't part of our crisis management plan." "No," he agreed. "It's part of my long-term vision for Pinnacle. Your work these past months has shown me what's possible when we expand beyond technology into the built environment itself." He hesitated. "Of course, if you'd prefer to return to independent practice after this project, I would understand." The thought of leaving Pinnacle, leaving Nathaniel, created an unexpected hollow feeling in Zara's chest. "Are you trying to get rid of me, Mr. Harrington?" she asked lightly. "Quite the opposite, Ms. Patel." His voice had grown softer, more personal. "I'm trying to find a way to keep you." The admission hung between them, laden with implications that transcended professional boundaries. Before Zara could respond, Vivian approached, tablet in hand. "Sir, the mayor has arrived for her private tour," she announced, "and the Architectural Review Board representatives are waiting in the side office." Nathaniel sighed. Duty calls. We'll continue this conversation later. I'll be here, Zara assured him. The remainder of the day passed in a blur of meetings, technical discussions, and planning sessions. By evening, when the site had cleared of visitors and most workers had departed, Zara found herself on the partially completed 17th floor, what would eventually become Pinnacle's executive level. The space was still mostly open framework, offering an unobstructed view of the Chicago skyline now glittering with lights as dusk settled. I thought I might find you here, Nathaniel said, emerging from the temporary elevator. You always gravitate to the best views. Occupational hazard of being an architect, she replied, echoing his words from months ago. We're trained to seek perspective. He joined her at the edge of the floor, safely behind the temporary barriers. And what perspective have you gained today? That sometimes our lowest moments lead to our highest achievements, Zara said thoughtfully. If Meridian hadn't collapsed, if I hadn't ended up on that park bench, if I hadn't walked through the park that night, Nathaniel continued, completing the thought. A remarkable series of coincidences. Or fate, Zara suggested. Depending on your perspective. Nathaniel turned to face her fully. In the fading light, his features were softened, the usually sharp lines of authority relaxed into something more vulnerable. I've been thinking about perspective too, specifically how mine has changed since meeting you. How so? Zara asked quietly. Before, success was measured in technological innovation, market share, profit margins. He gestured toward the partially constructed living wall. Now I see it differently. Now I see buildings that breathe, designs that nurture. I see a future where Pinnacle creates spaces that elevate humanity, not just house technology. That's a significant shift, Zara observed. You caused it? Nathaniel said simply. You and your ability to create beauty even when surrounded by hardship. You've changed how I see the world, Zara, and how I see my place in it. The honesty in his voice made her breath catch. Nathaniel, I know this complicates things, he continued quickly. I'm technically your employer. There are professional boundaries, corporate policies. I haven't accepted the division director position yet, Zara interrupted with a small smile. He paused. True, though that doesn't entirely resolve the ethical considerations. Always the pragmatist, Zara teased gently, then grew serious. When you found me that night, I had nothing but my designs and my dignity. You respected both. You gave me opportunity without demanding gratitude. That tells me more about your character than any corporate policy ever could. She took a step closer to him. And if you're concerned about appearances, about people thinking I've advanced because of personal connections rather than merit, I'm not, Nathaniel said firmly. Anyone who's seen your work, who's witnessed how you handled the Vanguard situation, no one could doubt your capabilities. Then what are you afraid of? The question hung in the air between them, direct and unavoidable. That you might still see me as the man who gave you his coat, he admitted finally. That gratitude might be coloring whatever you feel. Zara considered this, then reached into her portfolio case and extracted a familiar object, the folded, charcoal overcoat he'd given her that winter night. I kept meaning to return this, she said, holding it out to him. Nathaniel looked at the coat, then back at her, confusion evident in his expression. Take it, Zara insisted. Consider any debt of gratitude repaid in full. Slowly he accepted the coat, their fingers brushing in the exchange. Now, Zara continued, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Anything that happens next has nothing to do with coats or charity or professional advancement. It's simply about two people who see the world differently because they found each other. Understanding dawned in Nathaniel's eyes. He draped the coat over a nearby sawhorse and stepped closer to her, close enough that she could see the flecks of amber in his eyes. And what do you see happening next, Zara Patel? He asked, his voice low. In answer, she closed the remaining distance between them, her hand rising to rest lightly against his cheek. I see us building something together, something neither of us could create alone. His arms encircled her waist as he drew her closer. I believe the best structures begin with a solid foundation, he murmured. Trust, Zara whispered. Respect. Understanding, Nathaniel added. Shared vision. And this, Zara concluded, as she rose on her toes to press her lips to his. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, like the initial sketch of a design not yet fully realized. Then as Nathaniel's arms tightened around her, it deepened into something more confident, more certain, a blueprint of possibilities taking solid form. When they finally parted, the city lights had fully emerged against the darkened sky, creating a backdrop of twinkling brilliance that matched the feeling expanding in Zara's chest. I suppose this means you'll accept the division director position? Nathaniel asked, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. On one condition, Zara replied, that our first project together extends beyond this building. At his questioning look, she explained, I want to develop affordable, sustainable housing using pinnacle technology, homes for people who have nowhere to go. Second chances, built into the very framework of this city. Instead of the business-minded hesitation she half expected, Nathaniel's smile broadened. I was hoping you'd say something like that. I've already earmarked funding for community development initiatives. Zara laughed, always thinking ahead. I learned from the best, he replied, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. An extraordinary architect once showed me that the most beautiful designs are those that anticipate future needs. As they stood together against the backdrop of the city they were helping to reshape, surrounded by the skeletal beginnings of their shared vision, Zara reflected on the journey that had brought her here, from the lowest point of her life to, perhaps, its highest peak. From a park bench to this, she murmured, leaning her head against Nathaniel's shoulder. Quite a blueprint for a love story. Nathaniel's arm tightened around her waist. Not the final design, though, just the foundation. We have much more to build together. Above them, the first stars appeared in the deepening night sky. Witnesses to this moment of connection forged through adversity and vision. The beginning of a structure that would stand the test of time. Blueprinted not on paper but in the spaces between two hearts that had found each other against all odds.